Hey guys, welcome to the week of the Truckers Ministry. Hope you had a wonderful week this week. Quick announcement before we start. I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day. Dad, if you're watching this, happy Father's Day, and Dean, happy Father's Day as well if you're watching this. For those who don't know, Dean is my father-in-law. Unfortunately, we may not always get along the best, but I still want to wish him a happy Father's Day. And so happy Father's Day. A couple more quick announcements before we start. First and foremost, an update with the whole owner-op situation with me. I ended up finding a new person to sign on with. THG Global. I had a friend of mine. He's like, yeah, come on over here and check them out. Called them. They said that they weren't actually looking for another owner op, and told my buddy that. And he's like, tell him I sent you. And so I told him, hey, my buddy sent me here, or so and so sent me here. And sure enough, they're like, all right, come on board. So I'm pretty excited about that. Unfortunately, it is out of state. It's over the road driving, and I absolutely cannot stand over the road driving. So it'd be kind of fun to see how long I last with this, but you know what? God put me here for a reason, and I'm kind of excited to embrace it. Fortunately, it's not over the road. I'm only gone for 4 days, and you come home and you enjoy the weekend, and you're out again the next week. And I'm going to be making a little bit more than I made before, and I'm excited. Going to be going to Indiana, Kentucky, Texas, and Arizona. I would go to California, but my truck does not have a DEF system, being in 2003. And California won't let me there. That being said, I probably won't be allowed there to begin with because of my political affiliations. I'll probably say something along the lines of conservatism, and they boot me out in a heartbeat. So we'll see how that goes. And another cool announcement. I know that I keep saying that Truckers Workout program will be uploaded. I'm unfortunately not very tech savvy. So it's been a little bit more of a pain in the butt than I wanted it to be to try to upload it. And so if you guys want the workout, I can more than happy to email it to you. But as for uploading it, that's we'll have to wait and see on that one because it's a little harder to do that than I thought. Alright guys, I don't know about that young paper. And it looks like we're going to be joined here by Mr. Jackson. As you can see, he is super, super into this whole thing. Jax, are you say hi to everybody? Oh yeah, see, I think it's about as good as it's gonna get. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So this week we're gonna be continuing our series on Crablike Courage, part 3. We're going to talk about how David became king of Israel. And it's going to be found in 2 Samuel chapters 1 through 6. At least that's what we're going to be diving at this point. And let's dive into it. So the whole book, sorry, I don't know, I was going to say chapter. Whole book begins with David finding out that Saul is dead. Not only is Saul dead, but his homeboy David is dead. And he is upset. He's ugly crying. He is not happy. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, of course, his best friend, his homeboy, his brother is gone. Jonathan's gone. Of course he's gonna be upset. And it's like, he's upset about Jonathan being gone, but he's also upset that Saul's gone. And a lot of you guys are like probably thinking, it's like, why does he care that Saul's gone? Saul literally hunted him down like a dog forever. Saul put his support the Philistines on hold to specifically hunt down David. Why would he care? And part of it is, at least in my opinion, part of it is that, part of it in my opinion is that David's like, I told Saul that I was not going to try to pursue the kingship. I didn't want the crown until you passed away. I wanted you to live a long and happy life. I wanted you to be king. And at the end of the day, God did appoint you to be king originally. I wanted to honor that. And with Saul being dead because of his recklessness in battle, it's taken quickly, and the kingship is thrown towards David quickly. So he's And if we look, getting old, I gotta have reading glasses now. If we look in 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 17 through 22, we hear David lamenting and how upset he is. And bear in mind, I have the King James Bible. I'm thinking about switching to NIV because King James is a little hard to read. So, bear with me. So it starts out with David lamenting over the death of Jonathan and Saul. And he goes on, the beauty of Israel is slain upon the high places, how the mighty have fallen. Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor the fields of offerings, for there the shield of the mighty in the valley cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, and the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty. Yeah, awful. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they are not divided, and they were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over the Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put the ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of battle, O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan, very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of a woman. How are the mighty fallen, how the weapons of war perished. Unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry that was not 2:22, that was actually to verse 17. But David's upset. David is pissed. He's pissed, he's upset, he's heartbroken. And it's unfortunate. And then, not only that, David is the mighty men of Judah. Sorry. Dang. Sorry, guys. Judah, it's like, all right, you're king now. God said you were going to be king. You're king now. So David's like, well, it's a little bit sooner than I expected, but let's do it. But here's the problem. Saul had another son, Ishbosheth. Sorry, I could say his name right. Ishboleth. I think that's how you say Ishboleth. Yeah, he was another son of Ishboleth. And Ishboleth was like about 40 years old at this time. And seeing as to how he's still alive, and Saul and his other brothers are not, Saul, his dad, and his other brothers are not, it kind of gives an indication that this guy might have been a little weaker than his other brothers. He might have been more of a wimp, per se. But, he's still alive, and technically he still has right to the throne. If we are not saying, divine intervention. So the rest of the tribes of Israel are like, you know what? Nah. We want Ishbosheth to be king. And so, unfortunately, David's kind of comes from the frying pan into the fire. He comes from fighting the Philistines to fighting his own countrymen. And Joab, his second command, it's like, let's do it. They're not going to acknowledge this king, David. We're going to make him acknowledge this king. And the first battle, they get whooped. Israel is whooped. And part of it is because, God's like, hey, guys, David's going to be king. I made him king. He's going to be king, whether you like it or not. And Abner, who is Ishbosheth's second command, it's kind of like Joab is to David. He's like, whoa. And as the story progresses, he starts seeing that, well, maybe I shouldn't be supporting that anymore. Maybe I should just, stop. And so he ends up defecting to David. And David's like, hey, man, welcome here. I'm happy to have you here. You have some experience in ruling the country. Let's bring you here. And Joab, David's second command, is like, no, he's a traitor. He tried to kill you, David. No. And in turn, Joab ends up killing him. And then Ishbosheth, he hears about this. He's like, shoot, not only did my second command defect, he's dead now. So what am I going to do? So unfortunately, Ishbosheth ends up kicking the bucket, so to speak. And at this point, there's really nobody left to contest David for the throne. So all the other Israelite tribes are like, you know what? We're done. You're king. We don't want to fight anymore. So in chapter 5 5, we see that David is made full-on king of Israel. Everybody in the country acknowledges him. And if we start at chapter 5, verse 1, then came all the tribes of Israel to David upon Hebron and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou wast he that led us out of the brought us in Israel. It's hard to talk. And the Lord said to thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be captain over Israel. So all the elders of Israel came out to the king of Hebron, and David made a league with him, and in Hebron before the Lord. They anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began reigning, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judea 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 30 and 3 years over Israel and Judea. Blech. That was chapter 5, 1 through 5. And yeah, as you can tell, everyone's like, all right, you're done. As long as you can do as you always take care of us, like Saul took care of us, you know what? Who are we to judge? God made you king. You gotta be king. And so David's like, yeah, I'm king. Yeah. I'm excited. Man, he's 30 years old, so he's still a young man. And at this point, we're seeing David's life progress by probably, I like to think like 15, 17 years or so. Because keep in mind, when he took on Goliath, he was just a wee lad. He was a kid at the time. Probably 12, maybe 14 years old-ish. I'd probably say 15 at the absolute oldest. But he's still a kid, and he took on Goliath. So he's been transformed into a warrior. He's been on the run. He's been hanging on to a promise that God was going to make him king for a long time. And now, 15 years later, 30 years old, he's king. So he's still a young man when this is going on. And then it's like, reign for 40 years. 40 years. Keep in mind, this is a time period where people didn't really usually live past 40. So 40 years, you think he died at 70, or he reigned until he was like 70 years old. So, that's, especially for this time period, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, so David's looking around, he's like, you know what, I need capital. I need a good capital from him. And he looks at Jerusalem, and he's like, I'm going to make Jerusalem my capital. And unfortunately, Jerusalem at the time was owned by somebody else. Sorry, I have it on my notes here. Give me one second. Jesubites, I believe that's how you say it. And basically, like David, we're not going to give you this, but we can be peace. We don't want to take your capital, but we'll make peace with you. And David's like, no, I want that to be my capital. I want Jerusalem to be my capital. And for those who aren't really familiar with at least the old city of Jerusalem, Jerusalem is a very defensible city, and it makes sense to want that as your capital. It's built on top of a plateau with good walls around the city and overlooking the valley below. And it's very hard for an enemy to come up and attack it and be successful because Israel's up here, they're more down here, and they have to attack uphill. And realistically, the only issue Jerusalem could have is water. So if you can find a way to get out the water supply, you can take Jerusalem theoretically, as we find out later on with the Romans, the Babylonians, when they take the city, unfortunately. But at this time, it's like, that's a good city to have. And he ends up taking the city, and then everybody around him acknowledges him as king. It's like, you're king of Israel. You got this guy behind you. Let's not be enemies. Let's be friends. And his fame and his word and his reputation precedes him so much that the king of Tyre. And for those who aren't familiar with Tyre, it's this like little island. Like here's Israel. Tyre's like right here. It's like right on the modern day borders of Israel and Lebanon. The king is like, well, you know what? This guy's a cool guy. Let's be on good terms with him. So he ended up sending some cedar trees. He ended up sending some masons, some carpenters, some architects. And like, David, we're going to build your city. We're going to build your palace, your house in the city. And so, you know what? David's like, all right, you want to do this? Let's knock yourself out. And, yeah, and, sorry. And yeah, so as things progress, you know, the Philistines end up hearing that David was anointed king of Israel. Perhaps they're thinking that, you know, okay, you know, there's a little civil war going on, you know, so Israel's going to be weaker, our neighbor's going to be weaker. And keep in mind, they don't like David. David and his mighty men whooped their butts. Not time and time again. Like, they absolutely destroyed the Israelites. Or, sorry, they actually destroyed the Philistines in battles and battles. So the Philistines are like, no. They might hopefully a little weaker now because of the civil war they just had, but we can't let this dude be king, because if he is able, you know, if he could do that much work against us with a handful of mighty men, what's he going to do if he has the entire army, Israelite army, at his back? So they end up coming out in battle. They end up gathering around the canyon of Ripium. Wow, it's hard to talk this week, I tell you what. And, you know, when they're around the valley, and, you know, God's like, David's like, so, what am I going to do? Am I just going to rush in there and take him? Or, God, how do you want to do this? And then God's like, all right, yeah, just beat him in battle and take him on. And he ends up whooping their butts. And he's like, good, you know, I whooped their butts. We didn't suffer that many losses. They did. We'll be good. Okay, it's time for you guys to go, right? We're done. But apparently, the Philistines didn't quite get it. They were up for round 2. And they end up, you know, forming their lines on the canyon side of the canyon again. And David's like, so God, we're going to do that again? We're going to just meet in battle? And God's like, no, not this time. What I want you to do is I want you to go behind these mulberry trees that are behind the lines. And when I give the signal, which will be like a horn from the heavens, then you bum rush them. And sure enough, that happened, and the Philistines were defeated. And the Philistines, oh my gosh, they just had a rough go. So whenever, you know, God is behind you, doesn't matter how mighty your enemies are, they're going to tremble at your feet and you're going to destroy them. And that's where we end for this week. You know, next week we're going to pick that up again in chapter 6. And, you know, let's talk about some interesting points from this, you know, because it might be a little interesting to talk about the courage in this, because, you know, there's not a whole lot of exciting, per se, stories. So I won't talk. It might be a little hard to talk about the courage that David displayed in this, these chapters, because, you know, one more time. It might be a little hard to talk about how David had courage in these chapters, because there's not a lot of exciting events per se like there were in the last chapters, in the last book. But there are several big points in this, so let's dive into it. The first and foremost, the courage to embrace and accept things that are thrown in your way, thrown at you. And this is when we see David, you know, he wasn't quite ready to be king yet, and he finds out that you're king now. A little sooner than he expected, a little sooner than he would have liked. And often in life, you know, we struggle with this, where we pray to God. It's like, hey, God, you know, help me do X, Y, and Z. And when X, Y, and Z show up at our door, unfortunately, we often shrink away from that. We often back off, and we often, I don't want to say chicken out, but we chicken out. And then later on, we blame God for not providing opportunity. And God's like, dude, I provided you opportunity. It was right there. Why don't you take it? And so it's having the courage and the fortitude to accept and embrace whatever's thrown your way. It might be sooner than you expected, but it's perfect for God's timing. The other big point is keeping the faith and the courage when you feel weak. And this is really hard, especially for humans, you know, because whenever we're weak, whenever we are feeling just insignificant and just going through something, besides some of our first responses are going to be, woe is me, feel sorry for myself, I want to just lock myself in a room and just don't talk to me. And this is unfortunately just the devil talking in our ear saying, yeah, you are weak, you are nothing, you are just lower than low. And I'm sure David felt this when he's made king by Judea, but the other tribes rejected. He's like, shoot, I mean, I'm kind of weak right now. I'm just launched a civil war. I'm going to go against my entire country. It's the equivalent of Texas saying, Preston, you're king of America. And the other 49 states saying, no, he's not. And then he's like, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got to take on the entire country. What am I going to do? And so it's hard. It's hard to keep that courage and keep that faith when times are tough, especially when it's like, well, shoot, God, are you really gonna deliver your promise? What am I gonna? I don't know. I don't think I can't stand firm with this. What am I gonna do? So it's keeping the faith and the courage when you feel weak. The other big point is accepting God's timing. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Accepting God's timing. Like I said earlier, David, when this whole story starts, he's probably between the ages of 12 to 15. He is a young kid at this point. And when he's made king, he is 30 years old. He had to wait, let's go with 15. He had to wait 15 years to be king. 15 years for God's promise to come to fruition. And, some people, not everybody's patient. And David, unfortunately, I'm sure there are signs like, oh, God, it'd be nice if you can do it sooner than later. But, it's having the courage to, one of the big points we can take away from this is having the courage to wait on God. And it's not easy. It's never easy, especially when we see our friends and those around us having success in their lives and having the opportunities to move forward, and you're kind of still stuck where you are. It's like, God, I know you have faith. I'm trying to have faith because I know you have something good lined up for me, but I'm seeing everybody else around me move up, and I'm still right here. When is this going to happen for me? And God's like, dude, I'm working in your life. You got to be patient. There's going to be a time where I have set everything up and it's going to work out nicely for you. And then you know what? It's going to be better than those around you. You're going to have a better life than those around you. You're not going to be jealous of them. You're going to be thrilled with what you have. And, it's enough. David had to have the courage and he had to keep the faith that God was going to follow through. And that's something that a lot of us can take lessons from. And the last major point is, having the courage that God will deliver you from your enemies. Granted, we don't have to fight an army of Philistines like he did, or an army of our own countrymen like David did. But we still have enemies in our lives today. We still have those people around us that unfortunately don't want to see us succeed. They're going to find every way to put us down. And, it doesn't have to be, coworkers. It doesn't have to be those your friends. It can be even family members. They don't want to see us succeed because they're going to realize in their own lives that they're not trusting God, and it's not work. Them not trusting God is not working out. And you know what? If you have the faith in God and the courage to keep following what God is, the path that God has put before you, God's going to deliver those enemies of yours into your hands. Well, to the point where they're going to be like, you know what? Maybe we should trust God like you do. If God can do that in your life, why can't you do that in my life? And so, at the end of all, you end up being like this, I don't want to say beacon, because it sounds a little too cliche, but you end up being like this beacon in the darkness that everyone can look to. It's like, you know what? If you can do that, if God can do that for you, let me learn more about God so I can have him do it in my life. And yeah, honestly, this is just, David is just, he's an enigma, he's a man after God's own heart. He has all these displays of courage, but disclaimer, little spoiler, David ends up having some issues later on down the road. So he has all this courage, he's a man after God's own heart. God's, his right hand man, and he's like, yeah, I got this, God's on my side, nothing's gonna stop me. And then, next week we're going to dive into those times where David ends up having less than stellar judgment on things, where he ends up having to have the courage to admit that he's wrong. So hope you guys start pondering that a little bit. I'm kind of excited to dive into that one with you, and see you guys back next week for Crablike Courage Part 4. Y'all have a wonderful week, and as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or heck, you want me to stop, you can email me at the truckersministry@gmail.com. Again, that is at truckersministry@gmail.com. And yeah, see y'all next week for Crablike Courage Part 4.